Michael, coming to you, if I could only offer you one of them, top 4 FA Cup, I know that's really hard asking you to answer that question. What would be seen as a more successful thing? Because many will argue that this Tottenham side, what they are lacking is that label of winners. They need to win something to get over the line to prove themselves. What do you think? Because it sounds like Tottenham's business plan in all is kind of built around finishing in that top 4. So for you, really, what do you think?
Oh, Ricky, you're going to get me into another Twitter row with people, because I've had row. No, I never row with anyone, but I've had debates about people about Thursday, Sunday, Europa League over the past few years and what's a priority and what's not. Look, Tottenham need to be in the Champions League next season, okay? And that is a fact. They need it. Financially, we need it. I'm sorry, that's not popular, but Spurs need it. And it's also great to be in the Champions League. And we hope to give it a better go than what we did this season. And obviously, as we say, as much as we love Pochettino, he'll learn from this season. He made mistakes this season. He'd admit that. I'd love to win the FA Cup because I was brought up as Tottenham being a cup team. I was also brought up that Tottenham won the FA Cup more than anyone. And to see that taken away, firstly by Manchester United and then Arsenal, that hurt. And I think that's when they beat Hull. So that hurt a lot, and I couldn't watch it. So winning a cup would be fantastic. So what is the question? Is it fifth in FA Cup or fourth?
Well, if I had to ask you only one, Mike, if you could only choose FA Cup win or Champions League, for you, what's the more important for Spurs? I know it's a very tricky question.
I'm just ready to just have a go at Mike on Twitter now. I'm just ready. Shit, I'm ready for it now. So go on then, let's hear it.
I'm going to do a twist. I'm going to go for finishing in the top 4 above Arsenal over the FA Cup. If it was fourth, I'll leave it there in the top 4 above Arsenal.
Ricky, is he allowed that, Ricky? You're the adjudicator here. Is he allowed to do that one?
We'll give it to him, because to be fair, Paul, it's so tricky, that question. You know what, we've had on this podcast every week, we kind of ask the guys the same question. I think everyone is so split because, like you chaps there, everyone wants to see us win a trophy. Me and Jason have heard it every week we bring guests on. Everyone wants to see us win a trophy, but everyone also agrees that in terms of Tottenham's kind of structural plan with the stadium, I think the Champions League seems to be imperative as to what Spurs is looking to build. So it's such a tricky question.
Let's have both, shall we?
Shall we have both? Can we do both? What do we think? Chelsea in the Cup. Jace, we've spoke about this. Are we still confident, Jace? What do you think?
No, we're going to get beat by Chelsea and finish 6th, mate. if Everton might catch us, so I'm a bit worried at the moment. That'd be a Spursy way to end it, wouldn't it? I definitely feel that we'll finish within that top 4. If I'm being really honest, yes, we can beat Chelsea if everything goes for us on the day and we put in that perfect performance, which I always talk about, that game craft you need to beat Chelsea, but it's going to be a really big ask to do that, Chelsea side. But I think they're probably in fearing us. I wouldn't necessarily say as much as we are then, but I think we were the side that they didn't want to have in that draw, so we should take a little bit of confidence from that as well, and they know that we can hurt them, and that's the big thing for us.
Yeah, it really is. Paul, what do you make of it, this whole Wembley debate? I will come on to it with Michael as well. I want to speak to him about it, but you obviously you was at Wembley for the games in the Champions League. You've seen obviously the difference in the lane. I mean, is the pitch a factor? What do you think about it? Do you put it down to that?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. There was another one I was talking to some players about, and they say, it could be the size of the pitch, it could be this, it could be that. Who knows? But as soon as we go out there and do something about that, I don't know. Is it a hoodoo? Does it class yet as that? It's only a few games. Recently, that is, of course. We'll see. Let's go out and smash Chelsea, and then let's put that to bed straight away.
Well, we need to, don't we? Because obviously next season, Michael, coming to you, if it is indeed going to be Wembley for the Premier League games, I mean, we've seen how hard West Ham have struggled to adapt to a new stadium. If we are to, like I say, be competing at the very top, we're going to have to find a way to remedy it, aren't we?
Absolutely, Ricky. Look, I'll say one thing. Would Spurs have lost to Bayer Leverkusen at home at White Hart Lane? I don't think we would have done. Now, I'm not saying it's completely down to Wembley. In fact, I've spoken to a couple of the players and they insist they don't have an issue with Wembley. But there is something. I reckon there's a whole number of factors. You look at Ghent, for example. It was the biggest game in their history. Their social media blew up. We're going to Wembley to play Tottenham Hotspur. Wembley is such an iconic stadium, not just for English people, but for people around the world. It's an iconic stadium, and you'll get it next season. Swansea, we're going to Wembley. We're going to Wembley. West Brom. Stoke, we're going to Wembley. Okay, and that's what Spurs are going to have to get used to next season. And that's why I'm not saying next season for me is a write-off, but it's going to be extremely hard to keep up the level we've been doing this season, because our home form at White Hart Lane has been phenomenal this season, and that is going to be extremely hard to uphold. So personally, as I've said, there's a million factors why Spurs have struggled at Wembley. But it's not just this season. We've got a horrendous record. Is it something like 6 or 7 on the bounce?
It's 7 out of 8 at the moment. 7 defeats out of a possible 8.
So it's not a new thing with Tottenham, and a win over Chelsea would be be most welcome. It's nothing to lose. Conte's done a phenomenal job at Chelsea. But when people say, they're strong favourites, yeah, they're favourites. But we gave them a good going over in January, didn't we, at White Hart Lane? I'm looking forward to the game, and I did want Chelsea, if I'm honest. I didn't want Arsenal. I can't handle it. I didn't want it. I couldn't handle it, and I did breathe a sigh of relief when the draw came out. It was Chelsea. Of course, it is Chelsea's. Tottenham is their big rivalry, and Tottenham-Chelsea is a rivalry. Don't get me wrong. Of course it is. But Tottenham-Arsenal is our rivalry. It's the North London derby. And I certainly don't feel as upset when we lose to Chelsea like I do against Arsenal. It takes me a lot longer when we lose to Arsenal.
I tell you what, though, I bet Chelsea didn't want us. I bet that we were the last they wanted.
I agree with you, Paul. I think exact same, Paul. I think out of the teams, when you look at the form this season, I think Spurs have been the better team 3 out of the 4 halves with Chelsea. I think Chelsea, looking at that draw, I don't think they would have wanted Spurs. I really don't.
No. Agreed.
So what are we thinking then, chaps? Are we thinking do Chelsea and Arsenal in the final?
Oh, my goodness me. I think Man City will beat Arsenal. I was the one saying I think Arsenal are going to go on a run now, because they always do, and I had them to beat West Brom, and they were diabolical. So you'd envisage you'd have thought Man City would beat Arsenal in that other semi-final.
You'd want Arsenal to beat Man City, though. I know it's going to be a very uncomfortable game to watch. Should we get to play them in the final? But it's the game you want, though, isn't it? Really?
Well, isn't it amazing, Paul, that we've never faced each other in an FA Cup final?
Absolutely.
Both clubs have got amazing FA Cup records, and we've never faced, even in a League Cup final. It's remarkable.
Yeah. Semis, but never. Oh, it'd be amazing. When you talk about stuff, it makes your heart start going. That's all I got now.
Absolute goosebumps. Jay, you make a great point about that Chelsea game. I think you said as well, from your perspective, you can't really afford to make any mistake whatsoever than maybe what you could get away with against the other teams. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah, I think the other two you can really get at. We've seen, they're both very vulnerable when you have a real go at them this year, and I certainly think they would have been the easier ones. Whilst I think there's, they can come through you, particularly Man City and some fantastic players like Aguero and that. You always feel that you can get at them. Whereas I think with Chelsea, I think you got to be. It's a game where you really have got to have your head screwed on, and you've got to be quite ruthless in front of goal. Take your chances. I mean, that game at White Hart Lane, the 2-0 game, there wasn't exactly many chances within that, was there? We took those 2 really big ones that came our way, and other than that, I think there was that early chance of Eden Hazard, wasn't there? And he missed one, I think, early in the second half. But other than that, it wasn't a game full of chances. And I think that's the thing with Chelsea. It'll be really tight, and you've got to get everything right on the day, because let's be fair, they can punish you like the others can't, and they're the ones that are capable of keeping a clean sheet.
Did you like Antonio Conte? Because I've got to admit, I know Tottenham and Chelsea have a rivalry, but I like the guy.
I like him if he stays in his box rather than running up and down the touchline. I do wonder when I hate to be a killjoy, because he's allowed to show a bit of passion. But I think the Premier League have been a little bit lenient with some of the touchline antics this year. And it seems amazing that players get booked for going to celebrate in the crowd, and yet Conte seems to be able to do it without any problem at all.
He's never taken his shirt off, though, has he? Which has been
probably a relief to some, but I agree with you. Yeah. It's an interesting one.
Although he did take his hairpiece off once, I think, when he celebrated. That was.
Poch did have a word with him, didn't he? I think Poch and Jose are the two that have taken him to one side and had a quick whisper in the ear, and sort yourself out, boy.
Chaps, what I want to try and do is we've got loads of Twitter questions that I want to try and get through and try and rattle through them, because obviously you guys coming on, everyone's got in their droves. I'm going to go first tonight to you, Paul. I've got a question here from Steve Hotspur Pod at Hotspur Pod. I don't know if you can answer this, but we'll try. He said, I'd really like to know any rude celebrities in the hospitality over the years. Don't hold back names now. Can you divulge at all?
Noel Gallagher, yeah. Noel Gallagher was a good one. I remember Noel Gallagher was brought through, this is Man City, about, goodness me, 5 or 6 years ago. And the thing about him is that, he came up on stage and they said, I can have a quick word with him. And they said, he came up on stage and he stood there with his hands in his pockets, right, whatever. And he didn't want to speak. And I'm quite happy to stand there all day and I'll just hold the microphone there because I'll let them worry about the silence because I'm not going to worry about it. So then it got a bit like that, and then he started having a bit of a go at Spurs. So I started having a bit of a go at him, and it was actually a lot. It was actually a lot of fun. So I just kept going, and then I remember afterwards he laughed about it and walked away, and I remember people going, "You were a bit hard on him, weren't you?" I thought, well, he had a go at Spurs. What do you expect? So it was just tit for tat. It was quite fun. But generally, I don't think there's any. I don't remember any rude ones. We get lots of people coming through. But as far as rude ones, I don't think there is any, to be honest with you, because everybody's at a nice time.
That's good to hear. And Paul, I'm tempted to ask you, we've all seen this handshake with Heung-min Son go viral. Just out of interest, how long did it actually take you to do that handshake?
Well, what had happened before, because I've been talking about the handshakes on when I've been doing the man of the match afterwards, and Sonny came up, and I've got to tell you, he's, as you expect, he's just the best bloke. He's just so much fun. He'll sign everything for everybody. He's got time for everybody, and he's a really great interview as well. So I always wait for them on the top of the stairs before they came in. And I was going to say, look, can you give everybody a lesson on how it works because I know you've got a different one for everybody. So a chap that works at Spurs called Richard Knott, that works on the hospitality and looks after all the ex-players and me as well. And then he said, well, why didn't you get him to teach you one? He'll do it. So I said, okay. So as he came up, I said, listen, let's just do something. So when I introduce you for man of the match, so when I just go to shake your hand, let's just do one of your handshakes and then we'll just move on and imagine nothing happened. So he said, okay. So I said, but you're going to have to teach me something. So he's gone, okay, we'll do that, and then right up and then dab. And I'm thinking, how stupid am I going to look? So I've said, okay, fine. So I had literally 20 seconds from the moment I left him to walk up to the stage to introduce him. And all I'm thinking is, okay, across, 1, 2. So I'm trying to get this anyway. And then he came up and we did it. And it was, it was a laugh. But another one I think I got away with. But my son was ever so proud. So that was the main thing. I'm too old for a dab, man. I'm too old.
And out of interest, Paul, I know you mentioned on a preview, I heard you on another show. Well, tell us about Eric Dyer, and is it your son as well? We sat there with him with handshakes. Just very quickly, just fill the guys in about Eric Dyer.
Eric Dyer is another one. He's just, there's so many of them are just brilliant. And I'd done a junior fans forum at the training ground, and it was with Eric, and it was Jan Vertonghen as well, and they're both fantastic. So afterwards, I think Eric was going to do an interview for Spurs TV. So everybody had gone, and in the room there was me, and there was my son Joe, who's 9, and Eric. And Eric just came over to my son because I often bring my son with me, and even at Spurs, and he'll stand in the tunnel and he comes along with me. And he said, "Hey, little man, you didn't have a question?" And I said, "No, he did. He wanted to know about handshakes." And he said, "Come over here." And he sat down with him and he said, "Right, Joe, this is me. This is the one that me and Deli do." And he taught him the handshake. And he didn't just do it, but he said, "Right, this one, right, now you try it. No, try it again. Now this is the me and Sonny handshake." And he sat with him for about 10, 15 minutes. And my son's face, it was like me meeting John Pratt in 1976. Honestly, he was looking at him and I could just see his eyes, his mouth was wide open, just thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. It was really lovely because he was so nice and so kind and took the time. And I've seen him with fans as well, and he is brilliant. So, yeah, I can't say enough about him.
Yeah, absolute top guy, and it does sound like, I say, throughout the club we've kind of got that. Maurizio has instilled that respect into the players, and it's fantastic to hear stories like this, Paul, because not everyone gets the opportunity to hear some of the players. You only ever hear the worst sometimes from players, so it's great to be able to hear a contrast in terms of modern day footballers.
They're all great, they are, because I mean they have to put up with me, and I'm not going to give them the standard questions, and they're all brilliant. They've all got a good sense of humour, and they all have fun, and everyone, to a man, will stand there and sign every autograph. They know how important it is. They remember being kids and trying to do the same thing. And they're fantastic. I really can't say enough about them at the moment. It's just really exciting.
Absolutely brilliant. And long may it continue. And bringing you in, Michael, I've got a question here from Steve Bradshaw at Klepto51SD. He's based in the United...
What does he do?
Your guess is as good as mine, Paul, to be honest. Michael, he says, have wanted to go to White Hart Lane but live in the US, so can only witness the atmosphere on TV. Can you put into words what it's like to be at the ground?
It's funny because sometimes you think this has got to be more than 36,000, currently 31,000, isn't it? It's such a special stadium, and it's probably a good time for me to just say it is unique, it is iconic, and every friend who doesn't support Tottenham when he's in the away end, he always wants to go to Tottenham away. It's a special ground. There's something about it. Even the name, which I'll love and miss, White Hart Lane, even that's got such a ring to it. It's just a beautiful stadium, so many amazing memories. It is special. The atmosphere, it's so close, the fans are so close to the pitch. And I'm no dig at West Ham at all, but I've got friends who are West Ham fans, and they miss that quite a lot, to be fair to them. They miss that sort of feel like they had at Upton Park. And, White Hart Lane has that. It's got such an identity as well. When people have asked me a couple of questions, they said, are you going to cry on the final home game against Man United? I say no at the moment, but you only have to look at what's happening just right next to it. We're not going anywhere further. We're staying where we are, our true home, and this club needs it. It has to move forward. It needs this attendance. It needs to grow because it has held us back in many ways. It's ridiculous. When I was in education, it was a privilege to have a Tottenham season ticket. You've got so many thousands on the waiting list, and it's a beautiful stadium. But we're ready for the next big move.
You know what? I agree with absolutely 100%. And the cry thing, I've had those questions as well. And I'm a big girl's blouse, and I'll cry at the drop of a hat. When I've had players coming out, I'm finding myself like this. I don't know. It doesn't feel to me like we're going anywhere, and so it doesn't. Even though the new stadium's coming in, it's like these big arms are around the old stadium. I don't feel. Maybe I'll feel different, but at the moment it does. I don't know whether because it just feels like we're not moving. I don't know. I feel fine about it. I don't know about the rest of you.
It maybe it's a little bit of a generational thing. Why we all feel just that little bit different because, as Paul and I going back there in the 70s, White Hart Lane for me is already not the White Hart Lane that I first went to because obviously we had. Paul's right, we used to come out in the corner and you had the original Paxton Park Lane ends and that original shelf, and we've sat there and seen those four stands demolished in the past. So for me, the only bit that's left of White Hart Lane is the pitch, and I suppose moving next door, it's just the natural feeling for me that it's not the last game at White Hart Lane type of thing, but it is a stadium, I think, that evokes special emotions. I mean, it's interesting. Even players like Wayne Rooney and that, when it comes up and you hear other players interviewed their favourite away ground, just how many choose White Hart Lane, because it has, I suppose, a little bit like Goodison Park. It has still got that feeling of really tightly packed in, and they are big historic clubs. And you see so many stadiums now, St Mary's and the Walker Stadium and that, they're different from Filbert Street and the Old Dell, and they have become just this kind of modern sanitised stadium that every single one looks the same. And I think, the new one, I think the best thing that they're doing with that new one is having that single tier behind one of the goals, so at least we won't be stuck in that corporate thing. I'm sure it'll have a corporate name, but it will look a bit different to every other stadium that seems to be around.
I'll tell you an interesting thing, though, touching on what you just said there. was I said this to Alan Gilzine actually the other Saturday when they came out, and I've asked them this before. I said, when you look out, I know in the tunnel, I know it's in a different place, but when you look around the ground, does it feel like this is the same place where you played like 300 odd games? And they say, no, it doesn't. There's something, we know it's Spurs, but it doesn't seem like it's the same stadium. I guess it's like Trigger's Broom, isn't it? You know what I mean? I've had all those different handles but that's the thing with it's the same place, but there's been all these different stands. So the fact that we are going to have this new stadium pretty much in the same place, it's just moving on a bit, and it's not hopefully going to be as emotional as it could be, but we'll see against Manchester United. We'll see how we feel then. It may be different then.
My dad's in his early 70s, and so he's seen everything, the double and etc. And he always shows me pictures or videos of, he'd say, look, Michael, that stand held 30,000 on its own. Look at that. That was me there, So my dad would probably talk exactly the same in terms of the attendance, like 70 odd thousand back in the day. And then, I think he was telling me about the sort of mid to late 80s where, he wasn't the biggest fan of Irving Scholar. That's as far as I'll go. But, certain parts of the ground where he said, I hate the way they did that, So it's interesting where you're saying about it doesn't totally... You don't feel totally upset, and I think it sounds like we're all in agreement that we're looking forward to the move.
Paul, to you, what's the Legends making of it? Are they excited for the new stadium? What's their thoughts on it?
Yeah, they are. They're really excited. They're all, usually get the usual one going, oh, well, I hope I live to see it. I said, well, it's only like a year away. You'll be okay. But they're looking forward to it. I think there's a planned museum as well, which I think is brilliant. And there's so many... What's great about Spurs and the whole hospitality experience and how Spurs look after the ex-players is second to none compared around the rest of the Premier League, where any games, any clubs. I mean, you go to so many different clubs around the country. Yeah, they use their legends, but not like Spurs. I mean, on a match day, I walk in and there's probably 16, 17 Spurs legends that will be working there on a match day. Come the Arsenal game, it will be packed with legends, which will all be in different areas, all accessible. They're all fantastic blokes. I always make sure as well, say to everybody, because I know how I felt when I first met them, go up to them, get your photograph taken, have a chat with them. That's what they're here for. They're great blokes, because you see people going, oh my God, it's Brian Chivers, oh my God, it's Graham Roberts. They're great, and nobody uses the club legends, I think, like Spurs do, and there'll be more as well. There'll be more in the new stadium because it's going to be even bigger.
And bringing it back to the current day, chaps, I have to ask this question. In terms of what we're seeing now, club-wise, players coming through, let's go to you first, Michael. You've seen, obviously, from a journalist perspective and from your involvement in Spurs, you're seeing a rise of upcoming players. Anyone in particular you want to handpick, maybe coming through, someone like Harry Winks? Is there anyone you want to highlight to say, we've got some stars coming up here?
Yeah, you've answered it for me, mate. I love Harry Winks. I think he's going right to the top. And I spoke to someone the other day on Twitter, and they said about Harry Winks in the under-21s. I said, yeah, he's not going to get many under-21 caps, believe me. He's a real talent. And he's got this thing, he comes on, he just doesn't care either. He can handle himself as well, and I love that. He's just such a clever player, and he's a forward-thinking player. In terms of, we've got other good youngsters coming through. I actually had the under-18s come into Sky to do a day's work experience with me, and I can honestly tell you they are such a lovely bunch of lads. They really are, and I think that helps as well. And they're a good side, and unfortunately they had a difficult couple of legs with Chelsea, but Chelsea are on another stratosphere academy level, and we do have some good kids, but the ones you'll see immediately, I'd say Harry Winks. Obviously there's a lot made of Marcus Edwards, and he's a real talent, and if he can keep his head down and work hard, he should make it all the way. We saw a little glimpse against Gillingham, didn't we, with that shot, and when he came on. Keziah Sterling, I like a lot. He came into Sky, and he was a really nice lad. But I'll say for now, and for the next couple of years, I say it's Harry Winks, and he's going to be a first-team regular for many, many years to come.
And it's funny what you say there, Mark, because it links in with what Paul says, that at the moment, in terms of what Spurs are looking for in terms of players, we've heard what he said there about Eric Dyer previously, and what we're seeing is that it's very much about, not only it's got to be the right player, but it has to be the right profile, it has to be the right character Spurs are bringing in. It's all very well bringing in a player with, an abundance of talent, but at the end of the day, if they're not willing to work hard, then, Pochettino doesn't seem to be interested. It seems to all be about bringing in the right kind of person, and even like I say now, Paul says there about the legends, taking their time out to speak to fans. It's great to have that as a club to say, I represent supporting a club like this. It's such a special feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, when we saw the game against Gillingham, when Josh Onuma scored, it was really nice that the academy lads were on the bench, were hugging him, and I really enjoyed that night against Gillingham because it was just a little example of like how far some of these kids can go. And Tottenham a few years ago were criticised for not bringing enough players through. Someone said, "Oh, you've only brought Ledley King through." Well, now look at it. Now look at Tottenham. And we're half the England squad's made up of Tottenham players. So it's a huge turnaround, and you'll see 4 or 5 players in England squads from under 16 level upwards in every squad with Tottenham representation.
I think the big thing with bringing young players through as the club progresses, and I think that first batch that Pochettino had in the side of bringing Mason through, and obviously Kane had just started, I suppose, at the back end of the season, but giving Kane the chance on that, we were looking for players that were going to take us from their youth team, if you like, that were going to take us from a top 6 position into a top 4 position. Whereas perhaps over the next few years, when you're bringing youngsters into the team, will we have that patience to give a youngster a chance to make his way? Or are we going to say, look, we can't afford to have, say, Cameron Carter-Vickers making mistakes because we're now targeting a title challenge? And you find the standard of the player coming through has to be even higher than it is now if you're going to stay competitive and really charge on for titles. And I think, with great respect for Chelsea, they get lots of criticism of not developing players into first team players, but that's the problem. I mean, if Eden Hazard gets sold this summer, are they really going to look at Loftus-Cheek to replace him, or do they then go and spend another 50-60 million for a player that's right at that level, right there and then? And I think that will be the difficulty for 1 or 2 of our youngsters coming through, to stay on pace with the pace that the club's moving at.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Paul, for you, youngster-wise, how do you find the lads in terms of interviews? Are they, again, quite fairly open with you?
Yeah, Harry Winks is, God, what a great lad he is. And what's also brilliant about him for us is that he's Spurs through and through. He's an absolute, he loves Spurs, and he knows the history of Spurs, and he knows everything about the club. He's brought up as a Spurs fan, so, it just makes it double, win-win for us. And I think the first man of the match he came up to, and I said, well, you're a Spurs fan, and he went, it's like, oh, God, I love Spurs. He was like, I just love Spurs. And it's just like amazing. And I said, is it like, did it live up to everything you dreamed of? You scored your first goal, everything that we ever imagined. You've done, as a Spurs fan, what we've all dreamt to do. And there's not many people that have done that watched, the club as a kid and come. He just gone, that, and he goes, I just can't describe it. I just can't describe it. So enthusiastic, so loves the club. But most importantly, he's a really good player. And as Michael said, he's getting better and better, and I think he's the guy to watch. I mean, he's absolutely fabulous.
He really is, and it can't be too long, like I say, before he is knocking on the door for a first team place. But what I love about Maurizio, I don't know if you agree, Michael, from your perspective, is that what he's doing at the moment is he's, like I say, giving him 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, not overloading him, but just slowly integrating him.
Absolutely, Ricky. And he's not only just bringing him on in certain games where we're well in control and, the game's beyond reach. Like, he brought him on against Chelsea, Dembele off, Winks on, and people go, oh, blimey. He really trusts Winks, doesn't he? So, for me, there's no doubt about it. He's a real part. He's the number 12 now, isn't he? He's just on the very fringes of getting in that side. And as I touched on earlier, it's only a matter of time whether we push Dembele forward a little bit and Winks goes there with Wanyama. Who knows? He's got options there, Poch. And no, as I say, I'm a huge fan, and I reckon the other night was his last under-21 cap.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Let's move on to Burnley. Let's go to you, Paul. Burnley away. They've got a good home record this season, to be fair to them. Going to be a tough game up there. We haven't always had the greatest of results, but it's a game on paper you would think Spurs should win. Am I being brave saying that?
I don't know, but how many times over the years have we said, on paper, we should win this?
We should.
I think we'll win this. I absolutely think we're going to win. Funnily enough, I was out playing golf today and I bumped into Kyle Walker. And I saw, and it was just one of those chances, and he said hello, and I thought, oh, Christ, Carl. And I was having a chat with him about that, and I said, well, how is it for England? And I said, is there a lot of pressure? And he said, yeah, you know, he said, but they're going to get us the same with Spurs. The most important thing is, you know, we're Burnley and we've just got to go and win. We know we just want to go up there and win, and that's it. And that's what I think I think we're going to win 3-1. I know it's the old Spurs, any Spurs fan that predicts a 3-1, but I'm absolutely confident that we will go to Burnley and win, without a doubt.
I'm loving the confidence, Paul. I'm loving it. Jace, coming to you, Burnley weekend. What are you thinking?
I think you know we got to sort out who's playing up front, of course, and it was a shame that that Janssen missed. We've all hoped. The international breaks are funny, isn't it? We never want our players to go away and get injured, and yet we saw there was a chance for Janssen to get 90 minutes under his belt, and I think he pulled out for the Dutch, didn't he, through illness. So it'll be interesting to see which one we go with up front. I think Sonny's played against Syria today, and he's done a full 90 minutes today, yeah. And he should be in the sky, I think, more or less at the moment, waiting to get to Heathrow in the morning. So it'll be interesting to see which one he goes with. But you know, I think Burnley's a case of let's just get our minds right, and if our minds are right and we don't get complacent or anything like that, then I'm sure we can go there and get that win. Yeah,
hopefully, fingers crossed. And Michael, to you, chance this weekend to build even further ground on, we don't want to say who, but they're facing Man City. In terms of that selection dilemma up front, Jason's just mentioned, Janssen or Son, what do you think Pochettino may look to do?
Well, the only problem is obviously Son's got a long trip back. He's just played 90 minutes for South Korea as well, so plenty to ponder for Poch, but let's face it, he doesn't have too many options up front, does he? So he might have little choice but to play Son up front. I don't know the severity of Janssen's problem, obviously, for Holland, but I hate playing straight after international weekend. It's always hard to get back into it. But Burnley are really good at home this season. That's what's going to keep them up. And Tottenham, I hate any form of criticism towards Spurs this season as a fan, but you would say that we needed to turn more draws into wins. Yeah. So let's go there and get a win. If Lincoln can come on Spurs, you go on to it. But it will be tough. I love Sean Dyche. So much is made of Eddie Howe. Fair enough. But I think Sean Dyche does not get anywhere near enough credit he deserves for the job he's done at Burnley. But I'll take a scrappy 1-0, scrappy 2-1, because that's going to be a tough game.
It will be indeed. And finally, chaps, obviously conscious with it being White Hart Lane, the show primarily, we've got to discuss very quickly Arsenal and Man United to come. I mean, 2 huge games at White Hart Lane. I don't know how many people, maybe you, Michael, and like I say, you Paul, be lucky enough, you have your tickets, you'll be there. Can we go the full season unbeaten at the Lane? To you first, Paul, can we do it?
Yeah, of course we can do it. Yeah, of course we can. Why not? Absolutely, why not? Tails will be up after this good 3-1 win at Burnley. Then we move on to Watford, of course. And absolutely, why the hell should we not end the season unbeaten?
What do you think, Michael? How important is it for us to try and end the Lane with the spectacle, trying to go out all unbeaten?
Oh, it'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? And we've got a great chance. I think Manchester United, if they drop any more points in the Premier League, they're going to put all their eggs in one basket in the Europa League. They've got huge. I mean, it's funny, when we got knocked out to Ghent, I looked at the teams left. I thought, oh God, actually, it's not real top draw teams. Every year I say, the Europa League's really, really tough, but United will definitely look at that as the better way of getting into the Champions League this season. So I think, if I'm right in saying, when we've got United, they will still be possibly playing in a semi-final if they beat Anderlecht in the quarter-final. And as it's the last game, I think we'll beat Man United at home. Arsenal's the one. Do we really want Arsenal to beat us in the final game of the White Hart Lane as we know it? Goodness me, what a horrible feeling that is. So there's no more incentive you need, So and then I think our other home games are Watford and Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So I mean, Watford are slightly struggling. They're dipping down into that sort of bottom end. Bournemouth are probably safe now, and we looked comfortable against Bournemouth last season. So I'm going to go and say it. I think we will finish unbeaten at home this season.
And Jace, final word with you. What do you think? Can we do it? Can we go unbeaten?
Well, I think that Arsenal game is the big one, because it's always the big game of the season, isn't it? And you just feel that, wouldn't they just love to be the ones that record that final victory, having won the league twice there? That's just the way that it always seems to go with Arsenal. So I think we'll definitely be okay. Funnily enough, I think we'll be all right in the Arsenal game. I think we'll win the Man United game. It's just those next 2 coming up. I want to get that Bournemouth game out of the way. It seems strange that I'm worried about Bournemouth, but it is really unusual, isn't it, for any side to go unbeaten all season. So I'm mindful that we might have that one dodgy day in front of us, and Bournemouth might be the one where we're just not quite on it mentally or whatever. But there's no reason why we shouldn't go and get the result in those 4 games. But as I say, I'm just mindful that Bournemouth one might go against us.
I say it's strange, Jace. We are Spurs fans, so we always expect the unexpected. I wouldn't put anything past Spurs, but like I say,
you kind of tempt fate, don't you? You find yourself saying it, going, you know what? I think we're going to struggle with that. Just kind of tempting fate, whereas really inside you think, no, I think we're going to win. But I've got to say that because just because it's Spurs. But it will be all right. We'll be fine.
And as you know, Paul, we can't take the Spurs out of Spurs. We saw that last season, but we are trying to turn over a new leaf. The form has been formidable. I just very, very quickly, lads, want to say that last 10 minutes we played against Southampton. What did you make of it? Because there's that confidence that we're going to see this out. Is it not bizarre being at home and this kind of not always feeling that pressure that we're going to concede that last 10 minutes? We look incredibly. What's it like, Paul? What do you think? Has it changed at all?
Yeah, it has. It definitely has changed. But the thing is, our perception of Spurs hasn't changed because we've seen so much over the years and think, oh, here we go. It's that last 5 minutes. It's all going to get a bit wobbly and everything. And I think we're never going to be happy. No matter who we're playing, unless we're about 4 ahead with about 10 minutes to go, because we've seen so many things in the past. But it is, as the years go on, as the seasons go on, I tend to worry less. It's always going to be there because it's in my DNA, so I've got no choice. But I do tend to worry less and less as the seasons go on. So long may it continue, and hopefully then eventually those last-minute collywobbles will go completely.
Guys, that's all we've got time for tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ricky.
Brilliant, thank you. And Paul, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's an honour. Thanks for having me. How long did we go? What was it, 7 hours, that show, wasn't it?
It does feel like we've done an all-nighter. It must be back to your old days, Paul, isn't it?
1985 yet. We haven't done that one yet.
I never knew half-time lasted this long, Paul. I'm used to hearing you at half-time, mate.
I tell you, some of the ones I've done, they seem like they last a lot longer than half-time. You haven't tried to shave Ledley King at half-time.
Been an absolute pleasure. And Jace, thank you as always.
No problem, mate.
Absolute cracking podcast. Thank you so much. And as always, come on, you Spurs!